Okay, so welcome again formally to everybody. We're talking about the America's Coaching Supervision Network meetings, and we're talking about the session for today. And the original idea was to do an update about the Converge conference that happened a couple of weeks ago in Orlando. But we decided just to cover one of the topics that everybody was interested in discussing during the breaks. You know, in these conferences, it's as important what happened in the lectures and in the presentation. So what happened between the lectures when people talk in the corridor and they share their experiences. And I think that the topic of AI was what everybody was talking about and how that's related to the practice. So I would like to start asking everyone a question. And the question is, how is AI? How are you integrating AI to your practice? This is the question that I have for you. What are you doing right now to integrate AI to your work and to your practice? And if you're not doing anything yet, let's think together what you can start doing that you may not be doing yet, that you may need to be doing. So look at Linda's face, like, I don't know if I want to go there, you know. Let me give you a little bit of background. In 2014, I was in Malmo, was the ICF conference, and David Peterson was the keynote. And he was talking about the future of coaching, and he talked about AI replacing some of the work of the coaches. And I remember, that was almost 10 years ago. And I remember I was furious. I was very angry. I said, how is that possible? And I do believe he was right. He saw it coming, and I do believe that AI is not going to replace the work of coaches, but it's going to do some of that work. So the idea is that what do we need to know so we can prepare, we can be prepared, and also how we integrate AI to our work. I just, last week, I was invited to my local chapter from ICF Los Angeles, and if anybody's here from our local chapter. Yes, Elaine, and Sunny, both of them were there. Sunny was facilitating the panel that I was, and we were talking about the future of coaching, and the topics were around team coaching, AI, and diversity issues. Sunny did a great job facilitating the panel, and when it was the time for questions and answers, all of the questions were around AI. And you can see different reactions from people. From, okay, we don't have to worry about that. We don't even need to talk about it. Okay, what do we need to know? So what I want to invite everyone today is to consider where are you right now and what's next for you to integrate some of AI work to your personal work. And also as supervisors, coaches are bringing this to supervision. So how are you going to navigate these conversations around AI and coaching with your supervisees? So these are some of the things that I wanted you to invite you to think today. And I met Carla at the conference, and she wrote one of the essays at the Last Choice magazine. And the Last Choice magazine, everybody familiar with Choice magazine? Choice magazine is one of the biggest coaching magazines in the world, probably. Carla wrote one of the essays around the work that she has been doing in AI. So later, Carla, want to also hear from your own perspectives, since you were able to make it today, what is great. But let me start by sharing with you it's a 10 minutes interview that I conducted to prepare for the session today with the president and owner of coaching.com. So I know Alex Pascal. He's originally from Mexico, and I know him like from 10 years before he was doing coaching.com and before he bought WBEX. Everybody familiar with WBEX conferences? So coaching.com bought that, and it's looking a little bit different now. And he really is one of the leaders of bringing AI to their work. And I try not to make it too about his company, coaching.com, but about how that he see AI affecting our work. And then, Carla, I'm going to ask you the same. You're going to share in a few minutes. So let me share with you. It's only 10 minutes, and then we will go to small groups to discuss your reactions. Okay, so the idea is it's only 10 minutes interview. And I want you to take some notes to see what are your reactions to this interview. And then we will go to small groups to discuss your reactions. And then we have here with us an expert, that is Carla, that is also going to share some of her perspectives around AI and the future. So let me share this recording. everything goes well. Okay. Okay. Hi, Alex. Thank you very much for being willing to meet with me briefly to talk about AI and coaching and supervision. As you know, last week in Orlando, most of the people were talking about AI, and everybody's concerned and worried and trying to understand what they need to know about AI. Some people have been rejecting it and didn't want to know anything about it, but now realize that they don't have any choice. If they really want to move forward, they really need to integrate in some way AI to their work. So there is no way around this. And so I want to have this opportunity, since you have been one of the pioneers and leaders in AI before people were talking about that. I think we know each other for many years. You have been engaged in working in technology and AI for, I don't know how, more than 10 years at least. So tell us a little bit right now, what do you think coaches and supervisors, that are the people that we work together, what do you think we need to know about AI and how to integrate that to our work? What's come up for you?
Thank you, Damian. The first thing that comes to mind is, as coaches, we should be inquisitive and try to understand, what is it that we're afraid of? I was in one of the sessions. I was actually in the panel last week in one of the AI panels at the ICF Converge 23. And when I was not in the panel, I was interacting with some of the people in the table I was sitting. And the first thing a coach said was like, I don't like it. I don't like AI in coaching. And then I asked, what is it that you don't like? And the coach couldn't tell me. So I think there's like a prevailing fear that AI will replace coaches. I mean, I think that in some ways that fear is elevated across society for many people in many jobs. Is automation and robots and AI going to change the landscape of work? 100%. I think one of the things we need to think about is the time scale. What's going to happen over the next 5 and 10 years? But from my perspective, over the next 5 and 10 years, coaches are going to have to get good at interacting with the AI that's going to emerge and use the AI to become a better coach. So that's my whole angle with AI and coaching over the next decade. There's a lot of tools, and you spend a lot of your time thinking about supervision. There's a lot of tools that are going to make supervision more accurate, more scalable, cheaper for coaches that want to engage. I think there's a barrier around supervision with the cost. It's expensive to work with a coach supervisor in many cases. So I think there's a lot of cool things that are coming. I'm on the camp that I love coaching because it's a human thing and it's nice. There's nothing like connecting with someone, and when you have those coaching sessions and it just feels like there's magic happening. I mean, that is so rewarding. It doesn't happen with every client or every session, but there's always the potential for coaching to get to that point, and you see that people will change forever in terms of the way they see themselves, they interact with others. So that to me is the driving force. But I think there's a lot of aspects of technology that will help enable that without becoming a corrosive component that leads to less human coaching. Even the fact that we have to say human coaching these days is interesting. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, human coaching, they would have looked at you like you're crazy. But now we have to say, yeah, human coaching, or is that a bot? I mean, it's interesting.
There was a study presented at the conference where they were showing that from the people that they were interviewed, 12% would rather just work with the AI than with a fellow human. And then there were like 20% that they would like to see that combined. And then there was like 15% that would rather work just with a human versus AI. So it is split. And then there were a lot of people that didn't know. And some people who didn't want any coaching no matter what. So, it's not completely, like I remember when I heard for the first time from David Peterson at the conference in 2014 at the Malmo conference, he was talking about AI, and people were, and I also reacted. I don't like what I'm hearing. and resisting it. But then I realized that he was right. Like we need to incorporate it. We need to be open to it. So sometimes the first reaction is like fear or not understanding or uncertainty. Now, where would you go to learn if people want to become more literate about digitally literate? Like digital literacy is the new concept for many people. How do you become digitally literate? Where would you go? What would you do?
Well, I think a lot of the coaches that I know are still struggling with just technology in general, right? And leveraging it more in their practice. And, I've been at this game of bringing technology to manage workflows in coaching for over a decade now. And coaches have been traditionally, in my experience, resistant to leveraging technology to improve the efficiency from an operating perspective in their practice. So making the leap to AI is, I think, a whole other thing. But I think systems are better today. They're easier to use. I think that coaches will ultimately embrace AI. To become kind of aware of what's happening with AI. I mean, there's really a ton of we have the WBEX a series by coaching.com that we have a lot of topics or conversations around AI. So, those are some good resources for coaches, but just like what we do, there's a lot of people putting a lot of content out there. If you just go to LinkedIn, you'll see people are talking about these all the time. I mean, if you want to learn more about AI in general, there's like a book that I love. It's called Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom. It's maybe a little heady, but it really gets to, he's a philosopher, a Nordic philosopher, and he really gets at, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities of AI? So for those that kind of like to dig deep, that's a really, really good book. There's also, I think I have it somewhere around here, but there are some.
I will stop here because I think that we have enough to start the discussion. He then shared a couple of resources, and I'm going to share with you the link. The interview is in YouTube, so it's available to everybody. Even it's in my newsletter for people who receive my newsletter. The interview is there. So if you want to finish, he shares some resources. But before we go to small groups to discuss it, Carla, since you have been also one of the pioneers working with AI in coaching and develop your own software and your own platform. And anything else that you will add to what you hear from what Alex was saying?
So first of all, thank you, Damian. So I put down a few notes. I've been working with AI since 2015. I'm a coach. I've been coaching for 18 years now. I'm a mentor, not supervisor. And I've been working with AI for a while, to the point that I developed a system for integrating AI technology into the feedback for coaches. So a sort of support for mentoring. So from what we heard from the interview from Alex, I was at the conference and I heard the panel and the other. Yes, I have to say, I agree with you. There is a lot of interest around AI. At the same time, there is a kind of resistance. Alex said the coaches are resistant. I think it's part of the business model. So coaches, from my experience, are more into the wait and see. So until the business is there, they don't really go. They're not taking too much risk into the eye. What is interesting in general from what I'm seeing is that on one side, this is not just coaches, is in general people. On one side, there is this fear that AI is going to take our job. On the other side, we are getting lazy and we expect that technology is going to do everything for us. I say this because during the research and development on my system, my software, my focus group was really demanding. I mean, they didn't want to do anything. And I was trying to explain, look, this is collaboration. The machine is not going to do your job. You need still to be there in charge. So what I see in the future is that it's true. I agree that technology, AI in coaching or supervision and mentoring will bring more accuracy, will be more scalable, will make the business more scalable, and it will be cheaper. So it will let people use coaching, or is already happening with all the platforms, but also AI in the coaching and supervision. I'm in the part of those, that 20% that believes that people are looking for a combine. And I think that 20% is the one that is going to grow, because people really don't want to be replaced by coaches, and also clients don't want to deal in coaching on something that is so human with the machine. So, and the people are really skeptical. Slowly, they will either change their mind or get out of business. This is going to happen. So I can see that 20% is going to grow. This is my idea.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you for being here, and we may ask you more questions later. Let's go to small groups, and in groups of 4. I think one of our goals here is to connect with people from all over the world we have here. So let's take a minute just to introduce yourself briefly, so you get to know each other, and then share how you resonate to what you have heard. How do you resonate to what this interview with Alex, what you heard, where you are in your work? And the question is, what are you doing to integrate AI to your work? Okay, and then we can learn from each other. So let's spend 12 minutes. So there are 3 minutes for each. So we should let everybody participate, and you all listen to each other, and let's be back in 12 minutes. Welcome back.
Cut off in a half world, Damian. Yeah, so
of
that's
course,
conversation
like always. Yes, I'm sure we can spend much more than 12 minutes talking about this, but let's have a conversation with everybody here. Who would like to share some of your thoughts, some of your ideas, and see what we can learn from each other? Who would like to start? Go ahead, Ika.
So I will start by being very explicit. I work with tech, so I like technology very much. And I had the privilege to be an early tester of BART, for example, whole AI tool. However, what really bothers me, and I'm honest, it really, really bothers me when organizations bluntly lie to us how they use us as a testers of and that's what Damian and I actually noticed in our last conversation as well, when we were testing something. That we need to be able to read carefully their privacy documents. And if somebody says that they use the knowledge, how we use the data here to improve services, it's us as a beta tester. So meaning when there is a tool which offers now recording, for example, of mentoring, of a coaching session, and then you as a mentor, you can use it to transcript something and take notes, meaning that this algorithm is learning on your work how to do mentoring, and eventually it will take your job. This part I'm not so worried about, Damian, and all of you. You might be surprised because we had so many different technological revolutions before, and they always created the new jobs after, new kind of jobs. So I'm not worried that algorithm will learn how to do the basic mentoring and, find the competencies even probably better than I can, because I'm just a human being. I'm not so fast as AI. What I'm really, really angry with, that if I ask this question, every organization tells me, no, we don't do it, but they do it. And they say it in the documents. So that's why I would encourage people to take an informed choice. If you are worried that one day there will be artificial mentor coaching, artificial supervision, which can happen as well. I'm pretty sure that AI will be smart enough to do it, especially with what Sunny told us, that there is an AI which actually used actors to show that there is a human being talking to you somehow, yeah, that they have to create these avatars. I'm pretty sure that they can create this almost human-like experience with AI. And if you don't want to participate in it, make an informed choice if you use these tools or not. As I said, I'm not worried because I'm pretty sure that in 10 years, the jobs in our development and growth environment will be completely different than now. So this is the main message I have. Yeah, just be careful. Read this.
I think this is the next conversation that is about AI and ethics. And it was a session at the conference about ethics and AI because people are wondering about the use of information and data as one of the issues that Inge is bringing, but there are many more. And EMCC, ICF as association, they have been thinking about it and they came up with their own guidelines. So there are documents with guidelines. I don't know if you have seen that. I will look for them and I will post them in our American Coaching Supervision Network website. So you can have that handy. But associations are coming up with guidelines, ethical guidelines, because there is a concern too about how to use AI in a way that is appropriate. And that's a concern many times because one of the advantages of AI is that they can analyze our sessions. They can analyze sessions from mentoring just to look at skills, but also in supervision for themes. What are the themes or what are the topics or what are the areas that people keep bringing to coaching? So there are many ways that AI can be used to analyze sessions, to give us information that can be helpful in coaching and in supervision, but at the same time, AI is collecting all of this information to make it stronger. At the end of the day, it's for the benefit of everybody, but still people need to know what's going on with this conversation. So we have to be very, very careful. Thank you, Inga, for bringing this to everybody's awareness.
Damian,
Carla, go
may
ahead.
I add, may I add something? So I totally agree with Inge. In privacy is very important. So again, I think that being aware of what is happening, how AI is working is crucial. At the same time, we need to be very careful, not just with coaching in general. So we are concerned because we are coaches. We ask for permission every time we record a session. And for example, I will start a research and I will only ask people who want to participate in the research if they authorize me to use their recordings. I'm not collecting data. And for example, to log in, there is not the possibility to log in through Google, Facebook, LinkedIn. Notice that every time we log in anywhere on a platform using Google or another platform, we are opening the door. Everything goes there. So in my system, there is no such an opportunity. You can only log in with your email address because that is one way to keep private what is supposed to be private. So that is it. We just say yes, yes to everything to make it quick, but we are actually giving our data to the big tech.
Yeah. Very many people are not aware how the information is being used by different companies, organizations, including starting with the banks. Okay, who wanna go next? I'm sure many people here got a lot to say. Jane, go ahead.
I want to ask the question. I don't even have the imagination to identify how AI can be used other than listening to our recordings and making all sorts of decisions about what's right and what's not right. How are people using it if you're using it, or how would you?
That's a good question we can share between everybody. I highly recommend everyone to get the AI art magazine, the Choice magazine. The last one is about AI. It has like 10 different articles around AI and coaching, and not specifically supervision, but applies to supervision too. But there is one in particular by Clutterbuck. And this is what he has to say. Let me see. Can you see what is in this? This is a screenshot that I have from the article. So this is what he said. It's among the ways that AI partnering can assist the coaching process. So these are some of the ways he shares. Making the coach more aware of what's happening in the room. For example, the hidden emotions and silent thoughts of the client, revealing hidden patterns in the conversations and the client thinking, suggesting different questions and lines of inquiry, helping the coach check their intuitions, instantaneously making available information on relevant models and frameworks, offering decision-making along with algorithms and frameworks, and supporting the coach post-session reflection with analysis of the conversation, and comparing this with other client sessions to extract themes of interest.
I have things to say about that.
Yeah, okay, great. Let me stop here. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a lot to share.
Yeah, imagine, can you give me can I share my screen?
Yeah.
So let's imagine that we have such a tool, such that in the top left corner of our screen, we have all that David has described.
We cannot see anything yet, correct? Are you sharing already?
No, I'm just talking.
Okay.
So let's imagine that on the top left of your screen, everything that David is describing, you have that on a small square. Now, the situation will be like that. I, supervisor, will have, you can see my screen.
Mm-hmm.
I, supervisor, will have such a tool, which will tell me, about the relationship, about the coach. The coach will also have a tool, which tells him about himself, the relationship, and the client, and also about the supervisor and the relationship with the supervisor. And it will be the same with the client. This is what David is describing. So it's like we have this little tool called an iPhone, and very soon we are going to have another tool which is called the IA, and everybody will have an IA, and it will be like on the slide.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to be aware of that.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for sharing that. Comment, reactions, any other? Yes, Sophie?
No, not particularly. I think I'm just on board with what's said, in that I believe we do have to go with the flow of AI, and it does raise lots of ethical issues and questions beyond the coaching environment anyway. So we use AI and don't get used by AI. That's the ultimate boundary. How do we, what are the boundaries that we want to put around AI? So I don't have an answer.
Thank you, Sophie.
Damian?
Yes, Annie, go ahead.
I wanted to just adjust Jane's question, because I've had a little bit of experience, and I'm not a big AI proponent, but Jane, I've seen it used in coaching individuals, employees, for instance, in a training kind of capacity, and it can be helpful. I volunteered as a coach to coach an avatar, in a situation, and then I've seen it used with employees who needed to gain coaching skills in the work that they do. So I could see it being used in a team situation where someone has to deal with a difficult situation, and it allows them to sort of practice their coaching skills without it being critical, without them feeling like it will be detrimental, that they can, sort of practice how to ask open questions and those kind of things. So I can see it can be helpful. I'm just giving you an example because I didn't understand exactly how it could be used either. This particular company, as Damian was talking about, uses real people, which I thought was helpful to me. And once I was working with the avatar, I started to relax and just sort of get into the pace of experimenting and training. So if you're working with supervisors and you're getting them to use the 7-eyed model, they can practice over and over again. You can work with them in a way that is simulated to something real without it being critical. So that's one way. Although I do want to make a comment, because someone said earlier, AI is going to make coaching cheaper. And that causes me some pause, because again, there's cheap coaching going on now. It doesn't mean it's quality coaching and it's good coaching. So anything that is monetarily driven, I really have a lot of question about. Are coaches really being valued today in terms of their skills? And I'm not sure this is going to make it better. It's just a question I'd like to put out there.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this up. Carla, you have a comment about that?
Yes. So I said coaching is going to be cheaper, not because we'll lower the price as it is happening with the old platforms, but because if we get better as coaches, instead of having 8 sessions, 9 sessions, we could go for 5 maybe, because we will be more effective. So the price of the whole process will be lower, and the company could provide more coaching to more people, because instead of 8, 10 sessions, with 6 sessions, we will be very effective. In that sense, I would say it's going to be cheaper.
Thank you,
From
Carla.
my point of view, my perspective.
I can see that. However, I still have some reservations about that, because right now I work with some community-based organizations and I do executive and leadership coaching, but they're not getting, again, the value that someone who's paying $500 an hour is getting. They're not getting it because, again, coaching still is in the stage where I think universally it needs to be valued more and understood more in terms of what the benefits and the ROI is from coaching. So that still concerns me. I don't know. I really have some reservations about the whole thing. I think we're diving into it, but I think it's going to be, and someone mentioned in our group about mentor coaching and how AI can, improve that process. But if an algorithm is learning what we do and what we put into it, it's not forcing us to grow. And that's exactly what coaches need to constantly be doing, is to be learning with their clients. The mentoring is not just, your brain and what you can do, and you can sit back and just watch it go, like a self-driving car or something. We really have to be forced to grow as individuals. And what you put in, your biases that you put in, is what's going to come out. And that doesn't force us to expand.
There was another whole conversation, Sunny, at the conference about bias. And you hear different things from different people. And this is what is fascinating. It's like you hear one thing and then the other person says something completely different. Like you hear some people say, well, AI has some biases. But then you hear, well, human beings have even more biases than AI. So it's interesting.
Damian, I would be careful here because we are making code for AI. So AI is going to help our biases. So the idea that AI is bias free is actually the faulty implication. Is that it's not bias free.
No, it's not. No, we agree about that. But the question is who has more bias, if AI or human beings? So
okay, most of the coders are either white, Indian, or generally Asian guys. So please answer this question. If they are coding AI, what kind of biases are going to have?
And it's not exactly, it's not a matter of who has more bias. It's the bias itself, period. So it's almost like a contest. Why would we be inquiring who has more? We shouldn't have any.
Well, yeah, ideally. Mary, you have your hand for a long time, so let's hear from you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. And AI learns. We say, oh, it's programmed and therefore it's set, and it learns. So this whole question about bias is that there is bias. And the idea that there's going to be any, I think, is utopian and naive, to be frank about it, because we all have different histories and shapes and all that kind of stuff. But there's something somebody said about, we have to protect our boundaries here a little bit. We interact with AI. It's a collaborative partnership, to steal some words from the ICF. So it's learning from us at the same time that we're learning from them. Now, and people have something like, I don't want Google to have my data. And that's my bias here. They're welcome to my data. I mean, I lead a fascinating life, and I'm sure they're going to learn lots from me. Not, but and what I buy at Whole Foods and all that kind of stuff. That's just the way of life it is now. But I just want to talk about, it's not this thing out there that we interact with in the old days. It has a relationship, and I just think we need to remember that also. Thank you, Damian.
I appreciate that for everyone here, because you're talking about collaboration and integration. So the question for everyone is, what are we doing already and what do we need to do next? Like for me, like I thought that was a couple of steps ahead, and then I was in one of my supervision programs, and a couple of the participants start talking about a lot of things and say, what are you talking about? I don't know that. So there is so much to learn, and there is so much now available. And I feel like I'm getting a little bit behind, so I need to keep learning. So my suggestion, my invitation for everybody is pay attention to everything. Sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming because there is so many new programs and softwares and platforms, but I do believe that we do have a responsibility to take steps to keep learning. Genevieve.
Yes, I completely agree with what has been said so far. And there is a sentence we say, garbage in, garbage out. It will all depends what we will ask AI, because AI is just being a tool. For me, so far, the biggest problem that we are having and we will be having in the next future will be ethical problem. We will record when we keep things and we don't know exactly what AI is keeping and what AI is doing with that information. So we should focus on what we ask AI for the time being, because each of us is going to use AI, but not in the same way. Some people are going to be very good at it and some other people won't. So we have to be very careful at what we ask AI to do for us.
Thank you. And this brings, for example, with ChatGPT, everybody has tried ChatGPT. I hope that by now everybody knows what is it and how it works. And for example, I have been using ChatGPT in my coaching sessions in a couple of ways. One way has been at the end of the session, we're talking about developmental ideas. Like let's talk, for example, about delegation. And we talk, the client, we explore limiting beliefs around delegation. We talk about emotions around it, whatever was in there, and then we come up with the action plan. And these are ideas. You can go to ChatGPT and say, okay, suggestions for developing delegation skills. So you can add that. So in the past, I used to have documents and resources that I may share with the client, or I may go and look in my library. Now it's shorter and faster. That's a way, concrete, simple way. I had a client a couple of weeks ago, and she was working on she wanted to do a survey on climate in the organization. And we were talking about that, and she came up with some ideas. And at the end of the session, I said, would you like to get from ChatGPT some ideas, some questions that you may also use? And we did it, and she was blown away by the question, because she got really 10 great questions she wanted to ask, but then ChatGPT helped her to come up with many more questions that would help her to what she wanted. So this is a resource, and for everybody to think, okay, how you want to integrate in some way AI to your work.
And excuse me, Damian, ChatGPT replies very often, I don't have emotions, I don't have feelings. How can you coach someone without emotions, without feelings? So I think that we have to be very careful. We are just putting a lot of things on AI shoulders, but he says himself, I don't have feelings, I don't have emotions. So it's very important to take that into account.
I would actually maybe highlight what Carla said, what I loved, by the way, that we cannot treat AI as, that they do everything for us. AI will do everything, that we need to put the work there as well. And Jean-Elvire, I am actually looking, I'm predicting now, this is what, September 2023, but in 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised if actually AI was able to recognize emotions and emulate emotions. Don't
Well, let's see.
emulate.
Let's wait and see, Inga. Let's wait and see.
I have to completely disagree with that. Because if you read, so you've got neuroscientist, I can't remember where she's in the States, Lisa Feldman Barrett, and she's done extensive work on this. She's very well respected. She's had over 400 published papers. And she basically says on current technology, no matter what Google or Apple tell you, there's absolutely no way a machine is going to be able to understand what your emotion is. Even from a facial gesture, all you can say when you put people in an MRI scanner is this facial muscle moved. You cannot deduce what the person was thinking behind it. So if we can't do that, I'm not sure. I agree with Lisa Feldman Barrett. I don't think a machine's going to be able to do it either.
Peter, can you put the name in the chat box for me? I'm not native speaker.
Sure. Yeah, she's very well known. She's got lots of good TED Talks as well.
Great, great. Because I need arguments to talk to my engineers.
And listen, if anybody here has any resources that you can share with everybody, this is the right time to write them in the chat room. I highly recommend everyone to get the Choice magazine. The last number with the AI is really easy to understand, cover a lot of the things, and probably our next conversation should be about AI and ethics, because this is what coaches are going to bring to supervision, how to deal probably with issues related to ethics. So that probably will be our future session. Next month, we are going to have Michelle Lucas to come and discuss. I'm not sure, I think it's going to be creativity around her book 101. I don't know if any of you have seen Michelle Lucas' book on 101 ideas for creativity in supervision. So it's going to be a great opportunity to have her with us next month. We are also having Michelle Moral here. Michelle, thank you for doing a presentation for the Asian Supervisor Network. That is always the last Tuesday of the month in the evening, Wednesday morning in Asia, and for the people here who are in Europe, it's a little bit late. But it's always the last Tuesday of the month, so the last Tuesday of September at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Michelle is going to be sharing a report about his last book, Trends in Supervision. And we're going to record that. If you cannot make it, we will have a recording for you. But he's coming from Europe. He wakes up really early to be in these meetings. Michelle, like 5 or 4 in the morning for you. So it's going to be a great opportunity for people who are available. And great seeing everybody. Any last thought before we go? Anybody want to share any last thoughts or comments?
Well, I just wanted to share that we have our book club at the end of the month with Inga, and one of our keynote speakers is here today, is Celine Harrison, who is going to present her chapter on that day. So please come and we're going to have a very wonderful discussion. Inga?
September 25th,
Yes.
9 Pacific, 6 Central European time. I put every detail about the Zoom on American Network Supervision on LinkedIn, so you can find there everywhere. We have exactly the same Zoom. I can see here a few people who join us, and we are reading now the book, which is actually the selection of articles written by this network, the book Damian was talking about, Coaching Supervision Voices from America, and group supervision is our topic of September 25th. So please, if you somehow don't have access to LinkedIn, message either John Elvire or me, and I will be sending you all of the details. Yeah, we would love to.
And just one last thing, there is a new book which is going to be out on September the 23rd, is Superviser de cœur à cœur, which is one of the first book in French, which is talking about coaching from the heart. So you might not be able to read it because it is in French, but I think it's really important to get it because it has been written by four students from the CSA.
Oh, great.
And I have written the preface.
For sharing that. Now also we have another special interest group on team coaching supervision. If anybody is interested, the next meeting is coming Friday, 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And also Deborah is running the neurodiversity special interest group. Do you want to make an invitation to people briefly before we go?
Yeah, so that group is meeting this afternoon. That's 2:00 Eastern time. and that's for neurodiversity and coaching supervision. And we're just at the beginning of the journey. So if you were interested in joining, we're just kind of formulating what that group is going to look like.
Do you want to put in the chat room the link, just in case somebody wanted to join today? And if anybody has any resources or information about the AI, Carla, thank you very much for joining us today. Carla also developed a mentor coaching system to analyze sessions. So that's something that she also offers if anybody is interested. Carla, do you want to put your information in the chat room too? You want to put your email?
Yes, thank you. So there is, okay, my machine is not learning, is analyzing. So I think there is some confusion around AI. So please, yes, get to learn a bit about AI. Otherwise, we keep confusing ourselves. So I put down, thank you, Damian.
Thank you for joining us today to this session. Like I thought it would be good to have you here. We're going to keep talking about this because this is a topic that we're just starting. We need to keep opening to go deeper in different areas. So I don't want to take more time from people because we're at the top of the hour. So thanks everybody for joining us. We hope to see you in one of our activities. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
See everybody.